Good morning. Abstinence. Experience strength and hope for members of Overeaters Anonymous. This is titled Condition Check. I've heard people speak about sloppy abstinence ever since I've been in the OA program. I never cared much for that term. I felt that if one set down a plan of abstinence, one either stuck to it or one didn't. Certainly, that was the case for me. Now, my abstinence has gotten sloppy. I haven't relapsed, but there's a real risk of my doing just that. Suddenly, I realize that I have to eat some of my own words, and they're not on my food plan. I've come face to face with my powerlessness. I don't want to admit to myself that I'm still powerless. I've been in program for several years now, and I should be getting it right. I haven't been doing the things I said I wouldn't do with my eating, and thus haven't specifically broken my abstinence. Still, the obsession with food has been sneaking back in. I always expected that relapse, if it came, would come with a crash, but instead it appears to be creeping in little by little. In a way, that's good. With God's help, I can stop it before it gets out of hand. But a creeping relapse may be more difficult to recognize. After the discussion of step 10 in the Big Book, page 84, it says, "By this time, sanity will have returned. If tempted, we recoil as from a hot flame. We react sanely and normally, and we will find that this has happened automatically." This promise was granted to me for a long time, but lately I've found that more often than not, it hasn't been the case. Why was this promise fulfilled in my life and then, to a degree, taken from me? I find the answer in the next paragraph. We are not cured. What we really have is a daily reprieve contingent on the maintenance of our spiritual condition. Clearly, my spiritual condition must be lacking. I've looked at the things I did when I first came into the program and what I'm doing now, and I notice that I've selectively stopped doing some of those things. For instance, I used to pray regularly. Now I pray intermittently. I learned to meditate, and now rarely do. I was strict with my food plan and my abstinence. I'm now much looser. I exercised regularly. I don't any longer. I wrote daily. Lately, it's several times a month. I used to read program literature every day. Now I do it when I get time. Maybe once a week or two. I suppose what I'm realizing is that these efforts aren't sufficient for me to remain in spiritual condition. I tend to see things in black and white. I'm either abstinent or I'm not. I'm either working my program or I'm not. This is false. I'm still abstinent by my own definition, even though my abstinence hasn't been as clean as I'd like. I've been working my program, but not to the degree that I need to. I'm still sponsoring and doing lots of service, and I'm of some help to those who are still suffering. I'm still reading literature, making phone calls, writing, and getting to a good many meetings. So where do I go from here? I met with my sponsor and wrote out a plan of action that I felt would help me. It set reasonable goals for me to work toward, specifically in the areas of food plans, writing, reading, meditation, and exercise. My sponsor also suggested a couple of other areas to work on that I hadn't thought of. He emphasized to me that whatever happens now and whether or not I accomplish it is totally up to God. First, I must surrender completely to God. Then I need to do what I can do to regain my fit spiritual condition. I look forward to getting back into that place where I can feel good about myself and get back to losing weight. When and if I do, the credit will go to God, my higher power. So these thoughts come from a member in San Antonio, Texas. Have a great day. Yeah. I still need to, well, one, I've formally written out uh, my current condition with steps 11 and 12, and I need to go over those with my sponsor. So that's really top of the to-do list. So I will call my sponsor today. I have a pretty loose day before I go into work this afternoon. So I will take the time to call my sponsor, not text, not email, call, set up an appointment so that we can go over those steps. But I really need to bring him into this fold of what I'm doing here with reading OA material and doing these videos and really, assimilating my current recovery process in with Overeaters Anonymous and uh, and really embracing and expanding my practice of abstinence. It's always, I mean, for 29 years now, that has absolutely included without any relapses for alcohol and drugs. Um, I've expanded out over the years with cigarettes it's been 8 or 9 years now, maybe 8 going on 9, something like that. I should just pick a date and say that's when it happened. I can kind of guesstimate it. Um, over the last 7 years, I've been really working on financial unmanageability and obsessiveness, spending money that I don't have. In other words, creating debt, interest bearing debt. So, right now, I mean, I just did a threshold of paying off my student loan. It's a big chunk. I've been working on that. Good God, 20 years. Ugh, it's so painful. But that is paid off. So right now, my only debt is the mortgage on the home and no credit card debt, no personal debt, no car debt, none of that stuff. And it's transformational. But that's been a process for about 6, 7 years of working on that um, and just becoming financially healthy. It's huge, and I am. Today I am. But really engaged in keeping that in the fold of my abstinence. Relationship stuff, I've been really challenged with that over the last several years in, how to become the best version of myself and understand what I actually bring to the table and where my boundaries are. I mean, that's been such a big deal. And really being okay with, if there is not a suitable partner out there in my realm right now today, then so be it. Just keep working on me and really just embracing doing my stuff and not so worried about when and if. Um, and the last few times that I've delved into that area, I've slowly gotten better about establishing boundaries um, and seeing my error in overstepping those boundaries and moving forward with ill-suited partners and being an ill-suited partner myself by doing the such, right? So I know that the primary alteration that I need to do there is to taking full responsibility for my actions, my behaviors, my choices, my thinking, and uh, and then backing away and just saying, dude, there's no need to move forward here. And yeah, so there's been like 3 or 4 instances of that over the past couple years where I have set boundaries, and the responses were not conducive for moving forward. So walk away. And that sucks because it would be nice to have a partner, but I've done so much unsatisfactory coupling that I'm just not willing to do that any longer, to have a partner for having a partner's sake. So I'm okay with that. Um, and But I'm also confident that the clearer that I get, the clearer I can show up to the next opportunity. And and it's clearly it'll happen. So I'm not really worried about that. Um, and then this latest and greatest is reawakening the desire and the willingness to work toward food abstinence. And, for me, it really feels miraculous to have gone this long maintaining and experiencing no eating in between 3 meals. It's just sort of blows my mind. I mean, even last night, um, my meal was, and I'll try to not be super specific about food stuff, but I didn't eat any animal product for my dinner, and usually dinner's like really animal-y. And and it was truly satisfying. Um, but it's like uh, sometimes when I eat certain foods, it's very satisfying the meal, but then it doesn't really keep me full enough for long enough, and then I struggle. Um, and I had that a little bit last night where the meal was very satisfying, and I felt full for a good long time, but towards the end of my shift, um, and it was half and half. Was I actually feeling hunger, or was I just thinking hunger and wanting more? And it tilted a little bit more to that, just wanting and thinking more. And the beauty part is that I had food in the car with me, and I didn't eat any of it. I'm like not even thinking about that. The bag full of snacks, I might be ready to let go of that, even having it there. Like I'm not even thinking about it. But I got home, and you know didn't dive in. I like when I put my leftover food away. There was a little temptation to dig in there, and I didn't. And that's God stuff, absolutely. Because one, two of my weakest points have been, eating in the car, sitting there bored, and then getting home and eating a third and fourth and fifth meal late night. And so, and I definitely equate those to the cigarette stuff. Like one of the hardest things to quit the cigarette habit was not smoking in the car. It was so habitual. And, so those things are happening. And I'm building up that muscle and, strengthening the muscle, and then ultimately creating muscle memory with it as well each day. So I'm going to continue what I'm doing right now. I'm going to continue reading the literature, continue posting, and continue writing out a meal plan, and food prepping, food purchasing, prepping, and bringing food to work, and eating 3 meals without any obsessive and compulsive eating in between meals. So 3 abstinent meals, and just do that. Super long one. And primarily today, call my sponsor, and bring them up to speed on what I'm doing here. Have a great day.